Yo, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about my top 5 Charizard artworks. Now this list is based on Cerebi.net's Charizard artwork archive, and I assume this is every single Charizard artwork. But if you notice that this website somehow missed some, definitely let me know in the comments. But I feel like this is every single Charizard artwork that has ever been made, so therefore this is my top 5 Charizard artworks of all time. So starting off at the top here, and you see we just have all of these nostalgic artworks. I actually own a couple of the base set, like the base set ones, Blaine's Charizard, Dark Charizard, I own that. But all these newer ones I don't own, and I never even really saw them or heard about them until recently getting back into Pokemon in the boom of 2021. But looking through these Charizard artworks, there's a lot of cool ones. It was really difficult for me to pick my favorites here because of how many awesome ones there are, but I will say I managed to narrow it down, even though going through the list it was pretty difficult. So without further ado, let's just talk about a couple of the honorable mentions that I have. Okay, the first honorable mention is actually a two-parter. It's the classic, the OG. You know it, you love it. He's breathing fire. It's just a classic. Had to throw it on this list. It's beautiful. But along with that card, I also wanted to combine it with this card, which this is the artwork for the Game Boy game. I absolutely love this. It's another artwork of Charizard that is burnt into my brain. This is like top 2 of the most nostalgic Charizard artworks for me, and therefore it's got to be an honorable mention. Next up, I got this crazy one where he's reaching his head out through the card. It's got this really aggressive highlight and this super bright light and then dark shadows on his face. It's this very aggressive lighting pattern, and we get these Asian characters that are going over the Charizard. I'm a sucker for Asian characters. That's why I primarily collect Japanese, but this artwork, very aggressive. It pops. It's sharp. It's very graphic, and the blues really punch too. It's just so colorful, so hit you in the face, and I think that that's an eye-catching thing, but I do think that it's a little much for me. Like, I don't want to look at this card for too long. I see it, I get it, it punches me, but it's just not my favorite, even though I'm a sucker for the Asian characters, and I can admit that the design is cool. Next up, if you've been watching the channel and you've been hearing me talk about Pokemon cards, you know I got a soft spot in my heart for Pokemon cards with moons in the background. It's silly, it's goofy, but had to throw this Charizard on the honorable mentions because it has a moon in the background. I don't know what it is. It's a very simple card, right? You look at the card and you're like, it's just Charizard looking over to the side, but for some reason, I don't know what it is. The card sticks with me. Every time I see it, I love it. It punches me in the face, and I think it's that orange popping off of the dark background. The yellow in the belly and the orange in the Charizard matches with the yellow of the e-reader. The gray in the card in the background really lets the Charizard pop. It's a good, like, black and yellow kind of color scheme. It does a great job of popping, and something about the expression and the line work, it reminds me almost of like a graffiti caricature. I like it a lot, and it's very simple artwork, but something about it, I'm a big fan, and I'm pretty sure this is doing well in the financial world. I think this is one of the more expensive Charizard cards, don't quote me on that, but yeah, it seems to be doing well. People seem to like the e-reader cards, and yeah, I just had to throw this on the list of honorable mentions. Number 5 on my list of top Charizard artworks is this beautiful Charizard EX. We get this motion from Charizard, this flame whipping around the front of his face. We also get this nice light kind of flaring out from behind his head, which brings your eye towards the Charizard's mouth. It really draws you into that bright focal point, and on top of all that, the best part is we also get a Flareon on the bottom right and a Magmar on the top right. I love this card. I think it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite Charizard full arts ever made, and it just had to be on this list. And the 4th best Charizard artwork, in my opinion, is this Charizard VSTAR where he's fighting Mewtwo. I really like these sets of cards where the Pokemon are fighting each other. I think it's entertaining. I mean, I love cards where you get to see multiple Pokemon in one frame, but the fact that we get 2 Pokemon and they're fighting each other and they're like 2 of the most famous Pokemon of all time, I think it's a great card. I think it's a beautiful card. Investment wise, I do think it's going to go up. I bought 2 copies, one to hold and one to potentially go up or to give away on a rip and ship. If you want to see me start doing rip and ship live streams, definitely let me know, because I have a fun idea for how to do them. It'll be engaging, it'll be fun. We'll give out bonuses if you win, if you get a chase card that you want, and all this stuff. I got ideas. It's going to be fun, but leave a comment if you want to see that. Either way, this Charizard V-Star artwork, absolutely beautiful. Out of the Mewtwo and the Charizard, I do definitely prefer the Mewtwo card. I think it looks way nicer. It's just got a little more detail. This one I feel like is a little bit chunky. The line work looks a little chunky and there's a little less detail, it feels like, in the card. But that being said, I absolutely love this Charizard card, and who doesn't love seeing two Pokemon fight, especially, I mean, these guys, the arguably some of the most famous Pokemon of all time. Now we're getting to the top 3. This is the big stuff. Number 3, I have this Charizard V, and I think a lot of people would just put this at number 1 because it's an awesome looking card. It's really awesome. I mean, the fact that the vines come out from Venusaur and then they go around this like mountain in the background, and then they go back in and they almost like fit inside of the indentation between the Charizard's head and his wing. It like fits together like a glove. The artwork is so good. That wide angle perspective where we're looking over Charizard's shoulder, but we still get to see his face perfectly, and it just, the angle's great, the artwork is great. It's not as colorful as I would have hoped. Like, I wish it popped a little more, because with how beautiful this card is, I feel like you have to really stop and look at it to dissect it. It's not one of those cards where you see it and you're like, whoa. It's one of those cards where you have to slow down and really appreciate what's in it. But that being said, it's one of definitely the best Charizard artworks of all time. It's beautiful, I love it, and arguably it should have been higher on the list. But you know what is higher on the list? Let's talk about this extremely underrated card, and you might not have seen this one coming, but this card I'm a sucker for. I don't know why. I love this Charizard VMAX. I feel like it just looks so badass. That fire and the dark backgrounds, the purples and the dark sky, this like, he just looks menacing, and the fact that his hands have the claws and he's like just holding up, the pose is perfect. It's looking up and it looks perfect, and the background, the kind of vignetting that brings your eye to the Charizard, the flames, it all looks so awesome. I love how his eyes are lit up. Like, you don't really see his eyeballs. It's almost like they're just lit up in flame, almost like he's possessed, like Ghost Rider or something. It looks sick. This is by far, in my opinion, this is by far the most badass that Charizard has ever looked, period. So that is my number 2 Charizard artwork of all time. But my number 1 Charizard artwork of all time, and I didn't even know about this card until making this list. This card right here. Now, maybe people won't agree with me on this, but I really, really like this card. Now, don't get me wrong, the background is kind of plain. It's just this kind of like colorful like blur or whatever, but it's super colorful and eye-catching. And on top of that, the simplicity of the background and the lightness of the background allows the darkness and the more detail of the actual subject to pop off of the background. So yes, while the background is kind of plain and it's not as beautiful as those mountains we got in the background or the sky that you saw, that stormy sky in the background of card number 2, I do think that this card looks awesome, and I love the fact that we get Venusaur in it and you can see him a little bit better and the vines are wrapping him up. And you know, maybe it's not the best Charizard card. Maybe it's not your favorite Charizard card, but for some reason when I saw this card, I was like, wow, that is like so cool. It just pops, the colors, the fact that it's the two Pokemon fighting. I just really fell in love with this card. And again, as far as value goes, this is one of the Charizard cards that's definitely up there, because this is I think it's a more exclusive card. I believe this is some kind of special promo. That's it for my top 5 Charizard artworks of all time. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you feel like it. And if you made it this far, again, just thanks. Just seriously, thank you.